Hey you, thanks for tuning in again. I'm back with a new video, and as you can see, we're in a bit of a different environment. The weather's super nice today, so I just wanted to do a video outside, so I hope the lighting is good, and there's a lot of noise going around in the back, so let's just hope that my microphone is good enough to filter that out. Today I wanted to do a video on all of my book-related favorite things and ways for you to get into reading. Obviously, getting into reading requires a book and nothing else. But if you want to go the extra mile, like I am, these are all my favorite accessories, tips, and everything else that I have regarding reading a good book. So I wanted to divide this video into three main parts, which is the basics, storage, and logging. These three parts make up most of all my book-related stuff that I have, disregarding the whole YouTube and other social media kind of things. We're gonna start out by getting a good book, because where do you start if you never read a book? A lot of people say, oh, I can never read. Oh no, oh, you read? Like, oh, you must be so good at just sitting still for so long. No, it's about the book, obviously. If I read a book that's bad, I also hate reading it, and that can put me in a slump too. The best way to get into reading is by reading a good book. So I have a few recommendations per genre. The four main genres I think that people usually get into when they start reading. The first one is a very simple one, and that is a more literary. Crazy background noise, I'm so sorry. So the first genre I want to recommend a book in is literary fiction, and that is Anxious People by Frederick Bachman. This is a super simple, easy read. It's funny, it's charming. So I feel like this would be a really good book for people to start reading. I feel like everyone would like this, honestly. So yeah, you should read Anxious People. Also, I really recommend all of Frederick Bachman's books, but this one is just a really easy one to get into. Next up is a recommendation I have in romance, which is a genre I used to read a lot of, and now I'm kind of getting more out of it, but this was one of my favorite romance books slash series, and that is Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. This book is mainly a romance, but it has a nice kind of thriller mystery side plot, which is really fun. It's also just a very simple read. I feel like it's such a easy romance, and it does contain the grumpy sunshine trope. So if you're not into that, maybe don't read this, because honestly, I have kind of developed a pet peeve for that trope, but I can say this series is really nice. The second book in the series used to be my favorite book of like all time. But that was like right at the beginning of my reading journey. So don't pin me on that. I don't know if it's good anymore. It's been a while since I read it, but I still really recommend this series. Next is a thriller recommendation, and that is The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. And the thing with Riley Sager is that he sometimes incorporates paranormal elements into the story, and some people hate that. Honestly, I'm not going to tell you if this one does that or not, because obviously it's part of the surprise. But a lot of people get caught off guard by there being a paranormal element to the twist, which I can kind of understand. So you're warned, but honestly, this one was really good. And then last but not least, I have a beginner fantasy recommendation, which is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. And this is a series, and I only read the first two books, which is this one, and then there's a novella called Powerful, which takes place during the events of this book as well. So I can't say if the rest of the series is good, but I feel like this is a really easy fantasy to get into. It's not super high fantasy. There is magic involved, but it isn't like super crazy. I feel like everyone compares this to The Hunger Games, and I have to confess, I have never read The Hunger Games before. And I know I should, and I want to, but just let me finish. That car did in fact not let me finish. Anyway, this book is very similar to what I think is The Hunger Games, and also a bit of an easier version of Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas, which is one of my favorite series ever. It was really easy to get through, and it has kind of these, you know, it has trials, it has magic. I don't know, it's very basic fantasy, I guess, but it's a really fun one. All right, next up is a category besides books, which is something completely different, and you might be a very big fan of, or you might hate it, and that is an e-reader. Reading on an e-reader. I personally love reading on an e-reader. I bought mine, I think, almost 2 years ago. Maybe not even 2 years ago. And I basically got it because I had a super old one that I had since I was like 10, and it was super outdated. It was a Kobo one, and it was actually pretty modern for those times. It had touchscreen and it was like good quality, but I just wanted to get an upgrade. And also my e-reader only used to have just touchscreen, but I really wanted buttons. And this was right in the time where colored e-ink started to appear. And obviously that really intrigued me, even though I never read comics, so I really don't need the color, but that still made me buy a new e-reader. I have the Pocketbook Verse Pro Color, and I don't know, can you see like my custom splash screen? I'm not sure. Okay, well, anyway, I decorated it nicely with some holographic stickers, like a random chain. I don't know, it looks very kinky, I don't know. Yeah, it looks like I'm a very dark fantasy reader, but that's not the case. I'm not, so yeah, but it looks cool. I have a pop socket. It's a great size. It has buttons on the bottom. I don't know if you can see that, but it's great. And I love reading on an e-reader. It's so convenient to take with you, especially when I was still in school and I used to just take my e-reader to school every day, like taking on the train, or whenever you just take a trip or go on a holiday, like you don't have to bring like 5 books, because that is something I used to do when I didn't have a good e-reader yet. Yeah, basically, I also kind of got it to save money and space because I have a lot of physical books, and it's safe to say that this did not help with that problem because I still buy a lot of books. But yeah, it's really nice. I just download all my books on here. Also like the ones I have physically if I know I'm going away on a trip, so I can just leave the book at home and then just read it on my e-reader. Let's just not say where I get those books from, because it might not be legal. So for me, using an e-reader, this one, I think I bought it on sale for like 120 euros, which is honestly nothing. Like that's the price of maybe 10 books, not even. I think it's a really good buy. And if you know you're gonna be reading a lot, then why not get one? All right, next up is a category I don't have much to say on, and that is audiobooks, because I don't really listen to audiobooks. I have listened to the audiobook of Kingdom of Ash when I was reading it, because that book is 1,000 pages long, and I was doing a 2-day session tattoo on my back, and I was in a very uncomfortable position. So I was like, let's just download the audiobook. And then I tried to listen to it, and the audio was about torture and suffering, and I was also suffering. So that was not fun. So I could not focus on the story. So I kind of, I don't know, ditched audiobooks. I feel like for very long books, it's nice to break it up into like using different media to listen or read the book. Because for example, sometimes when I have like a super thick book, I read it partly physically, but sometimes it just gets too uncomfortable to hold, and then I use my e-reader because I have an e-reader, so why not use it? And also an e-reader is just great if you just want to lie in bed. I'm talking about the e-reader again. Like I was supposed to talk about audiobooks, but as you can tell, audiobooks just don't do much to me. All right, next category I'm going to talk about is storage. How do you store your books? Where do you store your books? Because honestly, books take up a shit ton of space, and I have a dedicated room in my apartment which houses all of my bookshelves, and it's kind of like my reading, cozy study room, whatever. Basically our hobby room. I have the IKEA Billy bookshelves, which are just the simple white ones. And they're the short ones, and they're just 30 euros, which is honestly nothing. So that's why it tempts me so much to just keep buying more of them. I feel like when I have a bigger dedicated book room, study room, whatever, I'll get the taller ones, and that's when we're really gonna shine, because I would love to have like built-in bookshelves on one wall in a room, or 2 walls, I don't know, whatever. But we're not there yet. So the IKEA Billy bookshelves, I really recommend them. They have different colors as well. I also think the white one really makes the colors of the books pop, which I love. So, and obviously a little note to the whole storage thing with the bookshelves. Obviously you gotta decorate it nicely too. So I really like the fake plants from IKEA as well. I just can't tell, I love IKEA. So I just really like it when my bookshelves have like these nice flowy plants on them. But I mean, putting real plants together with books where there could be water spilling or potential mold is not fun. Speaking of mold, there is mold in my study room. So pray for my books, please. I'm actually scared for them. Like, it's not funny. All right, next up, the last category, which is logging. How do you keep track of your books? Obviously, if you have a bookshelf and you have everything physically, that's a way of tracking it as well. But for me, I love planning and lists and everything that surrounds logging, basically. So obviously, we all know and love our nice digital friend of logging, which is Goodreads. If you don't follow me on there, my link is in the description. I have light coming from the back, so you're not seeing anything. And Goodreads is fine, but we all know that Goodreads is so behind on so many things. Why in the hell can I not give a book a half star? Why is it just whole stars? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And I know we have Storygraph and Fable and all those kind of apps, whatever, but I just don't care for them because my friends are not on there. I really love to see what people are reading and how they are reviewing a book, and that's just not possible if I download those other apps. And that's where another digital way of logging books comes in, and that is Notion. So I love using Notion. I've used it, I don't know, for years now. I use it for school, but I use it for personal things, and I also use it on my job. And it's just such a good way of tracking so many things, just like tracking books. So I basically have a Notion page, which is just called my book tracker, and I log all the details of that book in there just in case something's ever gonna happen to my Goodreads account. And also I can put more info on there. The only thing I don't put on there, which I think I should start doing, is the actual review that I type, which now I just post that on Goodreads and on my Instagram. Follow me on there if you haven't already. And I think I just don't do that because my reviews aren't that special. And they are kind of, I don't know, when I finish a book, I'm just like, okay, it gave me like, I don't know, 3.5 star vibes. And then I just write like 2 sentences, which kind of, I don't know, summarizes the whole story, but it kind of just summarizes the whole vibe. And I kind of just forgot about a lot of it already. So that's why my written reviews just don't really matter. Anyway, I love using Notion to track my books just because I can also like kind of get like an overview of how many pages I read in a year or in a month or in total, the amount of books I read in like the whole span of my reading career. I started reading in 2021, so that's already 5 years ago now, which is kind of crazy to think of that this hobby has actually stuck with me for so long. I read many books in those years, and it's just really fun to see, like, look all the way back to when I started getting into reading and what I rated stuff back then, because there's some books that I rated very highly, which I don't think I would rate that highly, but I'm just not gonna read them again because I just wanna enjoy the fact that I think I love them, and I don't wanna ruin my fantasies, so. All right, last part in the logging section is one that's also kind of big, and I know a lot of people love to do this, that is journaling. And I don't have a specific journal that I actually like write all my own stuff in, like a blank journal, like a bullet journal or whatever. I used to do that, but honestly it just takes up so much time, and it's kind of, I wasn't motivated to do it, so I didn't. But I got this book for my birthday, which is the 2026, I forgot what year it was, the 2026 Reading Challenge by the 52 Book Club. I had never heard of this before, which apparently was crazy, I don't know. It's basically 52 prompts for the entire year, so 1 prompt a week. I'm not reading a fucking book a week, obviously, but it's 52 prompts, and the challenge is just basically to kind of read a book that applies to one of these prompts. For example, one that I have read already, I've done 7 of these already, which I'm quite proud of. For example, prompt 29, set in the Arctic or Antarctic. So I read Wild Dark Shore for that one, which was a really good book. I can't stop talking about it, but it's just really fun. You can like plan out your reads, like have the definitive list together with the ratings. And then it's also got a page per book, and you can fill in like a whole kind of a journal entry basically, but it's just super easy, just filling it in. It has monthly wrap-ups where mine aren't that big. I usually read like 3 books a month. This is meant for people who read a lot, which I don't have the time for. But it basically also has like these, I don't know, color tracking things, which I use markers on these that bleed through, so it looks kind of ugly, but whatever. It's all about the vibes. This is really fun, and they have a digital version of this as well, so you can also do it digitally, but I think doing it physically is really fun too. And with that comes some supplies. So I basically use like these pastel highlighters. This is kind of like my book annotating bag. I tried annotating books. I have some books that I have annotated, but honestly, I just don't want to write in them, so I don't do that. But that's where the tabs come in, and I have some of these, which I don't know, they're super cheap, and I use these to mark out quotes or whatever. But I'm gonna be real honest, when I'm just like sitting outside reading my book and I don't have this sitting next to me, I'm not gonna go out of my way to get these tabs and like tab a nice quote. I'll just take a picture of it, or I'll just forget about it, which is what I do most of the time. Do with that what you will. I know annotating is like a very big part of reading for some people, but honestly, I just don't do it. So I'm not gonna talk about it because I don't know, I can't give you any advice on it because I don't do it. Filling in this journal is a really nice way to kind of, because it has a prompt, it's very nice to kind of be like, oh, in this book, would apply to this prompt. And now it kind of, I don't know, makes me more motivated to finish it. I want to like finish off as many prompts as possible, which is really fun. Also, I got this from my boyfriend and he told me every 5 prompts that I finish, I would get a book from him. So that motivates me very well. All right, that was everything book related that I have for you guys. These are basically all the tips that I have for if you wanted to get into reading. And I really hope you can do something with these tips, or if you enjoyed listening to me yap about what I really like about books. All things book related that are not reading, because I honestly love everything surrounding books. So maybe I should just read more instead of do all this other stuff. But isn't that nice for me to have found a very great hobby? All right, let me know in the comments if there's any book related item or accessory or tip that you think would be great for me. Follow my Bookstagram because I post a lot more on there. I barely have any time to record more videos, so I try to post on Bookstagram every other day. And so far that seems to be working for the past month already. So the link can be found in the description. I would really appreciate it if you give me a follow there. Give me a comment on my recent post saying what your favorite book accessory is. All right, thanks again for watching and I hope you have a great day. Bye.